Hi boys and girls, it's Mrs. Jockel here, ready to kick off our first week of homeschool with a grammar review of the lessons that you are assigned to complete this week. This week you should be doing 4 grammar lessons, starting with lesson 105. Boys and girls, can I tell you how long it took me to write this backwards so that it showed up on the screen the correct way? We are all learning new things this week, or I should say the past few weeks, with technology and communicating with one another, and so it has been a whirlwind for me. However, I think we're ready to go ahead and get started with grammar lesson 105. So I'm going to minimize myself here so you should hopefully see my screen. It starts with our grammar lesson 105. All right, so number 1 says to add a comma and quotation marks. So we have some dialogue here. My sister showed me how to braid my hair, bragged Nora. So remember, when we are putting quotation marks in our dialogue, our quotation marks go around the exact words of the speaker. So Nora is saying, my sister showed me how to braid my hair. So you should have quotation marks before my and after hair. And then our comma, boys and girls, always separates the words from the speaker. So you should have a comma after hair. All right, looking at number 2, choose the word that means the same as the underlined words. Rewrite the sentence on the lines below. Now, I know my class, I've always said they don't have to rewrite the entire new sentence. If you did that, that is certainly great practice of writing. So it says, if it storms, the electricity will not be connected. So we're looking for a word that means the same as not connected. Boys and girls, we've learned this several times throughout the year. This is a matter of adding on a prefix. So we need a prefix that means not, and you can see all of our choices have dis because dis means not. And if it's not connected, we should have that main word connected in our new word. So disconnected should be the new word choice for not connected. All right, down to number 3. Use a conjunction to connect the words in each sentence. Remember our conjunction junction video. Conjunction junction, what's your function? You might have to look that up for your parents, boys and girls. But we have and, but, and or. Those 3 words can help to join sentences together or even just to connect words in a sentence together. So, do you think this is a shorter way, blank, a longer way to go? So because it's shorter and then longer, it's one or the other. So you should have the conjunction or. It is almost time for recess, blank, not yet. Since it's not quite time for recess, it's almost, we would use the conjunction but. All right, scrolling down here, number 4. What does the underlined word mean? Madeline is squeamish when it comes to frogs and snakes. Our word is squeamish. Now, we have to try to use some context clues, boys and girls, to figure out what squeamish means. Maybe you've heard that word before. Maybe looking at, frogs and snakes and using prior knowledge, knowing that some people don't like frogs or snakes. My husband is terrified of frogs, so it's kind of fun to mess with him when we're outside. Anyways, I know that squeamish, in connection with frogs and snakes, a lot of people don't really like those creatures. And it sounds like it's not really a pleasant thing to be squeamish. So easily upset would be our best word choice. Some people might be excited when it comes to frogs and snakes if they really like those animals, or they might be interested in them too. But squeamish best means easily upset. And number 5, underline 2 adjectives in this sentence. Remember that an adjective is a describing word. It can tell us how many of something, what kind, what color, the size or the shape. And so when we look at our sentence, the fluffy chicks pecked at the hard ground. Fluffy is describing the chicks. It's telling us what kind of chicks they are, what they look like or feel like. And hard ground, hard is telling us what kind of ground it is. It's telling us about how it feels. It is hard. So those 2 words are the adjectives. Right. On to number 6, choose the object. I know this was kind of confusing for a lot of my students the last few weeks. Object is a noun, so it's a person, a place, or a thing. And the object of a sentence comes in the predicate towards the end of the sentence. Remember, we learned that the subject is what the sentence is about. So the ice cream dripped on my shirt. Ice cream is our subject because it's what our sentence is about. Dripped would be the verb. That's the action word in the sentence. And then shirt would be the next noun. That would be the object in our sentence, the object of what we are talking about, shirt. Number 7, write the correct form of the adjective. So we've done this before in our grammar lessons. Whenever we are comparing 2 things together in how they, look perhaps, describing 2 things and comparing them together, we sometimes have to change the adjective we use, change its form. So if I practice every day, I will become a better player or I will become a best player. You can see better is the best choice to use. Haha, see what I did there? I know, Mrs. Jockel, you're so funny. Anyways, moving on to number 8, write the past tense form of each verb. Past tense. Remember, past tense means something has already happened. So we can look at the chart over here at the past tense form of these verbs. Build is if you're doing it now, present tense. Built is if you've already done it. So let's look at our sentences. Deegan blank to sit in the back of the room. So Deegan built, drove, drank, or chose. Chose is the correct choice. We blank for hours before we stopped for gas. Well, if you're stopping for gas and by the picture it tells me you're driving, so the past tense of drive is drove. We drove for hours. And the baby blank too much juice. I know if juice is involved, you have to be drinking it, and the past tense of drink is drank. The baby drank too much juice. All right, number 9. Choose the correct form, verb form in this sentence. So, Mom and Dad drive or drives us to school in the morning. Because our subject is plural, Mom and Dad, we would not put an S on our verb and we would leave it as drive. And when you read the sentence, boys and girls, you can really hear that drive sounds a lot better. And number 10, the prefix un means not. So we needed to create a word using these root words that means not. So clear, the opposite would be unclear, adding on that prefix. So popular, if you are not popular or a movie was not popular, we would say unpopular. We put the prefix at the beginning of the word. And necessary, the opposite would be unnecessary. So if something was not necessary, we would add the prefix un. All right, boys and girls, well, that concludes our first grammar lesson. This video will continue through with the remainder of our grammar lessons for the week, but you do not need to sit through and do all of them at once. You can pause this video and come back to it tomorrow or another time, or you can hang with me and do all of your grammar lessons for the week at once. But if you are done, I will see you next time. Bye. Woo. All right, so moving on to grammar lesson 106. Boys and girls, I hope everyone is doing well and is having a good start to getting some work done for the week. Okay, as you can see, I'm moving on to lesson 106. So here we go. Number 1, write the plural form of each noun. So who remembers what plural means? Singular means only one, so plural means more than one. But boys and girls, pay attention to these words because they are tricky. Loaf and life, they end with an F or an F and a silent E. So we have to remember what to do in that case to make these nouns plural. That F changes to a V and then we add ES. So loaf becomes loaves. Loaves, like I bought many loaves of bread. Life, we change to the F to a V and add ES. So we change that word to lives. There are many lives being saved around the world. So life is plural, lives are, life is singular, lives are plural. On number 2, we need to match the definitions here. So we've talked about concrete nouns. Concrete, think of actual concrete. You can feel it, touch it. So those are the nouns that we can see and touch. Abstract nouns, something that is abstract, is more of an idea or a quality or an emotion. So happiness is a thing, but it's abstract. We can't just look at happiness. We can only see what happiness, might look like for a person, but we can't actually see happiness by itself. So it is an abstract noun. On number 3, write the past tense form of the verb. Past tense means it has already happened. She was not blank in the accident. So using the verb injure, we need to make it past tense. Most verbs in their past tense form, we just add the ed. So injured will be our verb. Okay, number 4, choose the words that match the underlined word in the sentence. There are many advantages to riding a bike. So advantages, we need to think, what does that mean? And choose the words. That means there's more than one answer here. So we have difficulties, benefits, drawbacks, or good things. So we have to use our prior knowledge and our understanding of riding a bike. Riding a bike, I know, is a good thing because it provides exercise. So advantages mean good things. Another way of saying that, a synonym would be benefits. Difficulties are hard things or things that aren't easy, and then drawbacks are also kind of negative things too. So we wouldn't want to pick those words for advantages. Number 5, in which sentence is wind used as a verb? In which sentence is wind used as a noun? So we have 2 words that are spelled exactly the same, but they sound different when we pronounce them. And they also have different meanings. So these are called homographs because they are written the same, but they do not sound the same and they do not mean the same thing. So let's take a look at our sentences. Don't forget to wind your alarm clock. I knew it was wind because wind your alarm clock didn't really make sense. So when you wind an alarm clock, now boys and girls, this is like old school alarm clocks where you actually had to like turn a dial to set it. That would be an action. It's a verb. If we look at the second sentence, a strong wind knocked the branches down. I kind of looked at the picture for some help on how to say that word, but also a strong wind doesn't quite make sense. Wind, I know, is a thing, so that would be a noun. All right. Excellent job so far. Hopefully the teaching here is going well. Over to number 6. Choose the strongest adjective to complete the sentence. I thought the movie was blank. So we have funny, hilarious, or humorous. Just like colors come in different shades, boys and girls, we also can look at words having different shades of meaning. And so we're looking for which adjective would be the strongest. So funny, okay. Hilarious, now that means like super duper funny. Humorous is better than funny, but not quite as strong as hilarious. That means you were really laughing. Maybe some tears were coming out. All right, number 7. Underline the plural possessive noun. Boys and girls, if you forget what a plural possessive noun is, let's break this apart. Plural means more than one of something. Possessive means it shows ownership. And a noun is a person, place, or thing. So we're looking for a person, place, or thing where there's more than one, and they're showing ownership. Something belongs to that person, place, or thing. The teacher was happy that her students' pencils were all sharpened. Teacher is only one person, so that can't be because I'm looking for a plural. Pencils are plural because it's more than one pencil, but there's no ownership. Nothing belongs to the pencils. Therefore, when I look at students, students is plural. There's more than one student. And then, remember, we look at that apostrophe that shows the ownership. That apostrophe added on here, just made it really dark. That apostrophe shows that something belongs to the students. So the pencils belong to the students. Number 8, underline the helping verb and the main verb. We've looked at this already this year, boys and girls. Helping verbs pair along with the main verb, and we often find them right in front of the main verb. So some students have taken all the books about whales out of the library. Taken would be our main verb because that is the action, but we have to include the helping verb, have taken. That tells us that this is in the past tense. So when we add a helping verb, it just helps to tell us, is it happening in the past, present, or the future? Number 9, the root cline means lean or bend. Okay, so we're looking at that root word and the meaning of it. We need to choose the meaning of the underlined word. The steep incline was a challenge for the hiking group. Well, if climb means to lean or bend, and I know people are hiking, it's not going to be a flat path. And then I remember learning that boulders are like really big rocks. So I'm thinking a slope, because a slope is something that would kind of be angled, and it would be kind of hard to hike up a hill or a mountain that had a slope. So that would be our answer choice. And finally, number 10, draw a line to match each expression with its meaning. I always like these. These are some fun phrases to learn. These bagels are just run of the mill. We have to think, what does run of the mill mean? Unlikely to win? These bagels are just unlikely to win? I don't really think they're in a race or anything. Useless task? These bagels are just a useless task? I'm not sure that makes sense either. These bagels are just ordinary and unexciting. Yeah, that could be because maybe they're just plain bagels. Nothing on them. All right, the second one, we've just been on a wild goose chase. A wild goose chase? Have you ever seen geese just running around and it looks like they have no idea what they're doing? They're just kind of flapping their wings and honking, and it just seems to be kind of pointless. So you can see that that means useless, a useless task. So if you've been on a wild goose chase, maybe you were just trying to complete a task that was really useless. Maybe just running to the grocery store, but maybe they were out of toilet paper. That seems to be the hot item to buy these days. All right, and the last one, I'm rooting for the underdog. Maybe you've heard that term before if you've played sports or watched a sports movie, but the underdog, those are the teams that are unlikely to win. Usually they're the ones that are not favored to win, but sometimes they do, and that's very exciting. So boys and girls, that completes our second grammar lesson of the week, lesson 106. You can tune in for the next lesson, or you can pause the video and come back to this another day. I hope everything is going well for you with your schoolwork at home, and I hope that you're also taking some time to relax and maybe play some games with your family, get outside if it's nice. Schoolwork will certainly get done throughout the week, but take a break, enjoy the family time you have together, and hopefully we can all be back at school very, very soon. All right, guys, have a great rest of your day. All right, hello, boys and girls. Mrs. Jockel here, ready to teach grammar lesson 107. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, here we go. So maybe you've already done this lesson, or maybe you're just sitting down and tuning in with me and following along as I go. Either way is fine by me. I just hope that you learned something new and review the answers. Number 1 wants us to match each abstract noun with its opposite. So in a prior lesson from this week, we talked about abstract nouns being those nouns that we cannot see, feel, or touch. It's kind of more of an idea or a feeling. So when we look at weakness, the opposite of weakness is what we have to find. Weakness is if you're not very strong, so the opposite would be strength. Those two words have the same meaning, or opposite meanings. I'm sorry. Confuse you guys. Energy is our next abstract noun. Energy is if you are, able to get work done, but maybe these days at home, staying up late, playing video games, maybe your energy is starting to wear off. The opposite of having energy is laziness, and that, could just be feeling tired or run down. And so those two have opposite meanings. And then generosity, if someone is generous, they're probably sharing something with you or helping you out. You're kind of giving to others. So the opposite would be selfishness, when you're trying to, keep something for yourself, not willing to share with others. All right, let's move on. Number 2, sometimes a sentence has many nouns with different uses. A noun can be the subject of a sentence, and another noun can be an object in a sentence. We've talked about subjects and object nouns before. But if we look at the example, Larry rides his bike. Larry is our subject, that's who our sentence is about, and bike is our object noun. Okay, it's a thing, his bike, and it's later in the predicate part of our sentence. So they want us to find all the nouns, circle the subject, and then underline the object in the sentence. So, David threw the ball. David is the subject of our sentence. It's who our sentence is about. And then the ball would be our predicate. It's in our predicate, so that would be our object noun. All right, I scroll down here, number 3. Choose the word to complete the sentence, write it on the line, and circle the vowel, consonant, consonant, vowel pattern. So let's look. Be sure to wear your blank when you ride your bike. Should you wear your rabbit when you ride your bike, your helmet, or your trumpet? I am hopeful that we know we should wear our helmet whenever we ride a bike. And they wanted us to circle the vowel, consonant, consonant, vowel pattern. And so I'm going to do it up on this word where I didn't highlight already. But E would be my first vowel in the word. Remember, a vowel is the letters A, E, I, O, and U. And it ends with E as my last vowel. So E, L, M, E. That would be my vowel, consonant, consonant, vowel. Right. Taking a look at number 4, use a conjunction to connect the words in each sentence. I'm choosing both blue, blank, green paint for my room. Now, this word here, both, is a key word. It's not blue or green paint. This person is choosing both. So we need to use the conjunction and because it joins both colors together. Either Rick, blank, Nina can be the goalie. Now, if you know anything about sports, there's only one goalie position. So it can't be Rick and Nina. So we have another little clue word here, either. Either means one or the other. So or would be our conjunction. All right, number 5, add ER or EST to the adjective to compare. So we need to compare, and sometimes that changes the form of our adjective. Tree frogs are green than bullfrogs. Well, we're comparing two things. We are comparing tree frogs and bullfrogs. One is more than the other, but we wouldn't say more green. This is a word where we can add ER to the end and say greener. Tree frogs are greener than bullfrogs. All right, here we go, number 6. Some common prepositions are near, past, under, until, up, and with. Choose the preposition in each sentence. Now, I know prepositions are very, very tricky. This is probably one of the hardest skills for 3rd graders to kind of grasp just because it's hard to really explain what they are. I had been telling my students to eliminate other words in the sentence that you know and see what you're left with. Here we go. For instance, I know Ava is a name, so that would be a proper noun. That's not a preposition. Climbed would be the verb in the sentence. That's the action word. The is an article, a and the. Wall is my object noun. It's a thing. And rock would be the adjective describing what kind of wall it is. So boys and girls, you can see that we are left with one word up. There's our preposition. We look at the second sentence. Nash looked under the table. Again, Nash is a name, so that's a proper noun. Looked is the verb in the sentence. The is an article. Table is my object noun. So I'm left with under. That is my preposition. And lastly, Selena lives near our school. Selena is a proper noun, naming a person. Lives would be the verb in the sentence. Our is a possessive. And school is a object noun. It's an object noun. It's a place. So left is our preposition near. So boys and girls, if you're stuck trying to find prepositions, try to eliminate, just lost my train of thought. Try to eliminate the other words in your sentence. All right, number 7, write the possessive pronouns below. So possessive pronouns. Again, possessive just means it shows ownership, and a pronoun takes the place of a noun. So instead of saying somebody's name, you could say words like she. You know, if you were talking about a friend, you could say her or him. So they just wanted you to really rewrite those to practice. So moving on to number 8. What does the underlined word mean? So let's take a look. Ask one of the brawny young students to help you move that desk. Brawny. Maybe you've never heard that word before. So let's look for some context clues. Young students. Okay, well, if they're young students, they could be weak or delicate. I don't know about muscular. But if you're asking them to help you move a desk, that would have to be someone kind of strong. So using those context clues, muscular would be the best choice for what brawny means. Okay, number 9, choose the correct verb. The pupil studies or study French in school. Pupil was one of our spelling words one week, I believe, and we said that it's not just the black part of your eye, but it also means a student. So you are a pupil in my class right now. So the pupil is one person, so our verb would need to be studies. The pupil studies French in school. And lastly, write an adjective to describe the size or shape of each noun. So we need a describing word for cowboy. They chose a tall cowboy because that is telling the size of the cowboy. You could have said words like the short cowboy, the big cowboy, the little cowboy. Those would all be describing the size. For clown, they said the round clown. You could have said, again, the tall clown, the short clown, the big clown, the small clown. That would talk about the size or shape. And then for monkey, they said a big monkey. So you could have said the big monkey, small monkey, ginormous monkey, any of those that describe size or shape. And for butterfly, they said the tiny butterfly. So you could have said the large butterfly, the humongous butterfly, the round butterfly, any adjective that describes the size or shape. All right, boys and girls, well, that concludes our 3rd grammar lesson for the week. I am moving on to the next lesson. You may be hitting the pause button and coming back to visit with me tomorrow. Either way, I hope your work is going well, and I hope that you are well. I know your teachers miss you very much. I miss my students very much. I hope that we can be back at school soon to enjoy the end of the year together. But if not, we'll make the best of this time online together. So boys and girls, have a great rest of your day and tune in for the next lesson. Hello, boys and girls. Mrs. Jockel here, ready to finish up the week with lesson 108 in grammar. So make sure you have your Simple Solution grammar book in front of you. If not, hit pause and go grab it, and make sure you bring a pencil to check over your work. So let's go ahead and get started. All right. Here we go, guys. Number 1, read the sentences. Is the underlined word used as a noun or as a verb? Write noun or verb on the line. So a noun is a person, place, or thing. A verb is an action word. So let's look at our sentences. My teacher keeps a record of all our test scores. Okay, so we have record. Keeps a record. Well, that would be a noun because it's a thing. If your teacher keeps a record, it means they're keeping track, maybe having a grade book. So that would be a thing. When we look at the next sentence, I record my voice with a microphone and sound equipment, kind of like I'm doing right now. Record is an action. When you record yourself, it's an action, so that would be a verb. Number 2, choose the strongest adjective to complete the sentence. So we want the strongest word to use here. After talking all night, Tammy and Jessica were exhausted, drowsy, or sleepy. Wow, you can see by these words, exhausted would be the strongest word to use. It means like the most tired that you could be. All right, down to number 3. Use a conjunction to connect the words in each sentence. So we've been seeing conjunctions in our previous lessons this week. I want mustard, blank, no relish on my hot dog. So this person wants one thing, but not the other. So we would use the conjunction but. Chase thought that he could take it, blank, leave it. Take it, leave it. Those are opposites. So the best conjunction is or. He thought he could take it or leave it, whatever it might be. Number 4, choose the words that match the underlined word in the sentence. The science class was learning about the processes of decay in plants. Decay. Decay. If you think of science class, in that word, you might have some prior knowledge as to what decay means. When we look at our choices, the breakdown in plants, the growth in plants, the rot, or the recovery. This is kind of confusing because when I'm thinking of plants, I'm thinking of them growing, but decay, I also have heard that word in talking about teeth and how, your teeth can decay whenever you get a cavity. I remember learning about that with Dr. McCaskey. So I'm thinking decay means to break down. And then another word for decay is rot. Maybe you've even seen some roadkill on the side of the road and you see how it decays over time and the animal starts to look different because it's rotting or breaking down. So those two words mean the same as decay. All right, over here to number 5. Some adverbs compare by adding more in front of the adverb. Now we have to remember what an adverb is. Add and verb. I know a verb is an action word, and add comes from the word adjective. So an adverb is a word that describes the action in the sentence. It tells us how the action is happening. So Jean drives carefully. How does she drive? Drive is the action. Carefully is how she drives. She drives more carefully when it rains. So more is just a word added in front of carefully to just give more emphasis on how she drives. So more carefully would be the adverb in this sentence. So underline the adverbs that compare. I tie knots more securely than the sailors. So how do I tie knots? I tie them more securely. So this would be the adverb in the sentence telling me how I tie knots. Number 6, the root come means together. Like if something is complete, it's together, it's whole. So we need to choose the underlined, choose the meaning of the underlined word. Are we having company tonight? Company, okay, maybe you've heard that before. And if come means together, company would be having people together. Not alone time, that would be if you were by yourself. And it wouldn't really quite mean a contest either. All right, number 7, a root word has no prefix or suffix. So we're looking at a root word, which means it has nothing added onto it, nothing in the beginning, nothing at the end. So what is the root word for all of these words? Let's look. Premix, mixer, mixed, remix, unmixed. What word do you see in all of those words? Mix, 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 remix, unmixed. Each word has mix. So that must be the main word in the sentence. The main word in each word. Sorry, my phone was buzzing. Distracted me. Almost done here, guys. All right, number 8. Combine the two simple sentences into a compound sentence. So a compound sentence is taking two simple sentences and sticking them together, but we need a conjunction to join them. And we also can't forget that we have to put a comma in front of the conjunction as well. I took skiing lessons when I was young. I have skied in Denver. So we could say, I took skiing lessons when I was young. There is a teeny little comma there. I'm going to make a new one a little bigger because that's where that sentence would end. So we would need to put a comma there instead since we're combining the sentences. And then, and I have skied in Denver. That would be our conjunction to join those two sentences into one. I took skiing lessons when I was young, and I have skied in Denver. All right, number 9, insert commas and correct quotation marks in this dialogue. So we've looked at this before. You will love this book. Just keep reading, said Marcy. Now remember, quotation marks go around the exact words of our speaker. So I would think, okay, what is Marcy saying? She is saying, you will love this book. Just keep reading. So I put quotation marks before you and after reading. And then we need that comma. A comma separates the speaker from their words. So to separate Marcy from what she is saying, I put a comma after reading. In sentence 2, Trent sighed, I'll just have to find the time. What words is Trent saying? Well, he is saying, I'll just have to find the time. So we put quotation marks around his exact words. And then we put a comma to separate who is talking from what they are saying. So a comma after sighed. And finally, number 10, make the plural noun show possession by adding apostrophe after the S. So we want to put the S apostrophe. The spiders made a web. The spider's web is sticky. So here we see spiders is more than one. So So there's more than one spider, even though this picture only shows one, there's more than one spider. So spiders. And then we put the apostrophe after the S because it's all of their web that we're talking about. All of the spiders' web. Some spiders are social and they like to work together and they make one web. So we're talking about the spiders and their web. All right, boys and girls, I hope the grammar went smoothly for you this week. If all worked well, you can expect to see more grammar videos in the future to help you along with the lessons that you have to complete throughout the week. If you have any questions, please reach out to your teacher. But boys and girls, keep learning during this time off. I hope that you are doing well. We miss you, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks for tuning in, boys and girls. Have a great rest of your day. Now I need to figure out how to turn this thing off.